Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So my buddy Paul this morning pointed out a great little section of an ESPN article that was published today. Basically, it was kind of like a future power rankings. I'll leave it linked down below in the description, along, of course, with Paul's YouTube and Twitter. But he highlighted a point made by Jeremy Fowler. Okay, when talking about the New York Jets, and by the way, they actually go through all 32 teams in the article. But when talking about the Jets, he had a really intriguing quote. He said, "It seems like New York is still looking for another splash move in the secondary. The Jets were in the mix for several high-cost free agents and signed cornerback DJ Reed, but could still use one more playmaker. A rangy center fielder at safety would elevate what should be an emerging defense." So a couple of interesting takeaways from that little quote there. The first that kind of just sticks out to me, did ESPN use an old quote here? Because Sauce Gardner was not mentioned, and, a splash move to me is like, a big money signing, a really high draft pick, first round pick, something like that. And at the end of the day, Ahmad Gardner, he is in the secondary, and he was that's a splash acquisition, in my opinion. Passed up on multiple offensive linemen, multiple edge rushers at the time, Kayvon Thibodeau. Like, there was so much speculation. Of course, the wide receivers as well, until, pick number 10 with Garrett Wilson. But, to me, that was a splash move. Was this quote reused? I don't know, because obviously it's post-free agency with the mention of DJ Reed, but let's just take it with a grain of salt and kind of explore the idea here. Now, the elephant in the room is star safety from the Cincinnati Bengals, Jessie Bates. Obviously disgruntled, one of my favorite players in football. He's, in my opinion, a top 3 free safety. The guy's a beast. He can cover, he kind of fits the bill here as a true center fielder, but one thing that I feel like doesn't get talked about enough with Jessie Bates is his hitting ability. I mean, man, this guy can fly downfield and come up with major hits. Like, Jessie Bates is a great player. And, if it wasn't for the Jets having Jamal Adams and Marcus May, I would have loved it if they, were to acquire him out of Wake Forest, but it is what it is. We look at Jessie Bates right now, disgruntled. It doesn't really seem like the Bengals and Bates are going to come to a long-term agreement in the near future. So, of course, there's been a ton of speculation. Well, what's going to happen? Is Bates going to play this season on the short little, 1-year deal here? Are the Bengals going to try to trade him and acquire draft picks or something else? And for me, I just can't envision a team that was in the Super Bowl last year trading away literally one of their best players a month and a half before the start of the regular season. In my opinion, I feel like the Bengals need all hands on deck. Pittsburgh got better, Cleveland got better, Baltimore got better. If the Bengals want to duplicate that success from last season, it does not help to trade away, again, one of your best players, one of the best players at his position in Jessie Bates. I mean, the teammates love him, the fans love him. He's a crucial part of that defense. Now, I get it. If the Bengals and Bates can't reach a long-term agreement, then, something's got to give. Is Bates going to, pull a Le'Veon Bell and just sit out for the entire season? Is he going to, play on the 1-year deal? Or is he going to try to force his way out? Kind of like a Jamal Adams thing. It was not the same exact situation, but somewhat similar with the contract and everything like that. Couldn't really get that long-term agreement done, and all of a sudden, Jamal Adams is on his way out to Seattle. The difference here, though, is that the Jets were a rebuilding football team. The Bengals were in the Super Bowl. I feel like if I was a part of the Bengals and they told me that, hey, Bates is not part of the long-term plans here, he's going to want too much money, whatever the case may be, I would suggest let's move him before free agency. Let's move him before the draft. That way we can acquire some draft picks, put them to use immediately, and maybe fill that position with the safety that we really like. There were tons of them. Dax Hill, Kyle Hamilton, who's now with the rival Baltimore Ravens. I mean, the list goes on here. Jaquan Brisker, there were, I want to say, 4 safeties that I felt great about in this class. And, not even just that, but, looking at the free agents as well, guys like Marcus Williams, who is now a much like Kyle Hamilton, a Baltimore Raven. I felt like the Bengals could have made this move and had this settled, done and over with months ago, literal months ago. But now we're in mid to late July, and this is, continuing to be a problem here. What's going to happen? What's going to give? Look, if the Bengals want to trade Jessie Bates for whatever reason, they just don't, maybe he threatens to sit out for the entire season or something, trade me to a team that's going to pay me to a long-term extension, I would highly suggest the Jets and Joe Douglas, be front and center for that move. I love Jessie Bates. I do. I think he'd be a great, great fit, especially as like a cover 3 safety. But I mean, man, he could do it all. It's not like he's, he can only play in this specific system, not in the least. Bates and Whitehead would instantly become one of the top safety tandems in all of football. The only somewhat questionable thing is how much money is going to be invested in the position. Now, to be honest, the safety position is actually my favorite position in all of football, so I actually wouldn't mind it too much. And because the defense was ranked 32 last year, I want as much talent as possible. Now, unfortunately, the Jets don't have a lot of cap space this season. There's still maybe some talk that they could go with an offensive line, like a backup offensive lineman, like a Riley Reef or, like an Eric Fisher, something like that. Get that veteran guy just to be, just to make sure we have that insurance policy in the case that somebody goes down with an injury. But look, again, if the Bengals want to part ways with him, if I'm Joe Douglas, I am trying to make it work one way or another. Now, that's just Bates. Maybe there's somebody else on Joe Douglas's radar. I don't know. The draft is done and over with. At this point, we take a look at the free agents. There's not any. There's some really solid players out there, but are any of those guys considered splash moves? I don't know, in my opinion. So we'll see how it all plays out. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Are you trusting Jeremy Fowler here, with this quote that the Jets are kind of still looking to make a big splash move in the secondary? Or do you kind of think it was, ESPN just taking one of the older quotes and just putting it in a newer article here? Because, again, there wasn't any mention of Sauce Gardner, which to me just strikes me as a little odd, but what are you going to do? Anyway, thanks so much and by the way, let me know your thoughts too about Jessie Bates. Is that realistic? Do you actually think the Bengals will move him? I think all Jets fans or most Jets fans can say, hey, yeah, the acquisition would be great. We would be willing to give up draft picks or whatever the case may be. But would the Bengals actually trade him? I don't really feel like Cincinnati's in a position to just trade away one of the, best players on the team, one of the best players that the franchise has had in the last, handful of seasons here. He's meant a lot to that team, meant a lot to the fans as well. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and as always, go Jets.